Welcome in. You are speaking with the Meeple's champion, and we're going to be going over another board game review. Today, we're going to be jumping into the game called Endless Winter. Now, I just played this for the first time on our Monday night games, and this was one I had heard of. I even looked into it, and I believe I watched a rough playthrough way back in the day when it was first coming out as a Kickstarter. Well, one of my friends backed it, got it, totally forgot they ever got it, and when they asked to play the game, I was sitting there going, I feel like I know this name, but I don't know what it is. It's a snow theme. There's a whole bunch of different animals that you can hunt in this game. You are part of a tribe trying to survive out in the cold. You're playing primarily a combination of a deck builder and a worker placement. You're going to have two of your basic workers and then your chief. Your chief comes with a special ability, usually confined to a specific of one of the 4 spots to go, which gives it a more powerful ability, but it has to be used only in that one place. Or you get a chief that has a slightly weaker ability, but it can be used anywhere. You get 3 turns per round, 4 rounds in the game. And the concept you're going for is you're going to be moving around and you're going to be trying to work on, all right, I'm going to be collecting animals, which means set collection. But I also can destroy those sets by killing the animals to make them into meat and into weapons and stuff like that. You're going to have your food and you're going to have your tools moving up and down on a chart. You're going to be trying to get out onto the map, putting out little tents. Get enough tents, you can then use an ability to then turn them into a village. Tents are temporary, you can move those, but the village is permanent. And then you're also going to have an area where you're going to be building up a temple. Now, all of these things have different times in the game where they're going to pay out. They're going to give you victory points. You basically get victory points at the end of different rounds, and then a final victory point at the end of the 4th round. And when you're done with it all, you count everything up, you see where you land. Now, your animals only pay out at the complete end, but you might earn something that's going to be a permanent every round you-specific payout, and that might help you get your animals to pay out early so that when you have your big payout at the end, it's going to be worth way more. Or you might be going after trying to build up your temple. And when you're building up your temple, you're getting points on the spot. You don't get repaid every time, but every time that something is placed down, you get a point for placing it. When you place it on top of them, you get 4 points plus a point to everybody who you build on top of. You could be building out on the map, which means when you get to the end of the round, everything is going to be able to pay out resources and more abilities to you. So if you're out and you're building your tents and your villages, yes, some of them give you victory points, but more importantly, a bunch of them are going to pay you out in resources. So the resources are great because they're going to help you to be able to build in the next round, but the victory points are great because if you can have the majority in a spot, you could get those victory points 4 times. And obviously the 4th round, resources don't matter. It's the victory points that matter. So it's better to have those paid out at the end. There's a lot in this game. It's really one that I enjoyed playing, despite the fact that, as per usual, in first place of the game, I got destroyed. That's all right, because you know what? I'm more about the theme and the fun of learning new games and just trying to feel like I had a good time. And for me, I know my curse is I'll almost never win the first time I play a game. It's just not going to happen. The second time, probably not going to win. But that third game, I'll give a little bit more of a push. I got pretty beat up in this game. 4 of us played. I took 4th place. I was probably about 9 points behind 3rd, which isn't horrible, but you go and you look compared to first, where I was almost half the score, and you go, all right, that wasn't exactly a competitive matchup. Well, that being said, why don't we jump into our 7 categories, and let's see where this game lands for us. When it comes to the art, I love the box. I remember when this came out on Kickstarter, and that box art was what pulled you in and made you want to go and look at this. And then when it comes to the card art, the board art, the different, your individual board, your center board, your map board to the side, your temple board, everything is really good art. Thumbs up. Your components. So primarily you're looking at components that are cardboard boards out on the board. You do have some nice wooden meeples for your 2 workers, as well as a mini for your chief. And then you've got little plastic blocks that move to represent your food and your tools, You're going to be putting out wooden pieces to represent your temple that you're building up, wooden pieces to represent your tents and your villages you're building up. It's all really good quality. Thumbs up. Your price. Now, when I first looked into this game, it was so long ago I couldn't tell you what it was worth online, but it wasn't cheap. But today, this is not a game that you're going to find easily. It's not impossible to find this, but this is not stocked in every board game store. I'd be shocked if you find this at more than 1 out of 5. And it's not cheap. I would say at best you're finding it for 60, but it wouldn't shock me if this game's more in that 70, 80 category. There's a lot in this game. It was a big Kickstarter. Kickstarters are great because they give you, if you're really into it, it's a game that overwhelms you at times with just how much they include. It feels like such a big piece, but it's also expensive. And the quality of these components and the quality of this art, you're not getting away with this game ever really coming out cheap. Maybe one day it drops to 50 because they just need to get them off the shelves. But for right now, I would say 60, 70, maybe even 80 is your averaging area. It's just too much for me price-wise. Thumbs down. Your difficulty. It's not difficult to play. I think that you immediately can look at this game and go, okay, here's my 3 pieces, your chief and your 2 workers. My option is go to one of the 4 spots. If you go to a spot, you have 2 abilities at the top that don't require payments, and you can do them as much as you want. Once you've finished doing those, you then move below to a single option that you can only do post those choices. You do that. If you're the very first person to go there for the round, there's an additional spot below those that you get, which is just a bonus. It's usually a couple resources or a card grab or something. You also, before all of this, place your cards down, and any cards that are giving you abilities have to be done before you begin doing whatever the spot is. So that's your setup. You have 4 options, as well as you can say, I'm going to rest, place your worker in the rest area, and you get stuff for resting. You go through all these, you do 4 of them, and I think that that's not too difficult. You have the option of looking at your cards and looking at the options on the board, and when it gets to you, figuring out what combination of cards would you like to add to a worker to go to a spot and get resources and payments. You can clearly see what to do. In the short term, I think it's easy. In the long term, I think it starts to build up and become more difficult. Okay, what is it you're doing? I understand that they took the spot that you wanted, so you're not getting the bonus anymore. Is it worth going there anyways because that spot has stuff you need for next round? Or is it worth going somewhere else that wasn't your option, but you still have bonus and you're going to get the bonus payouts? That's where I think it gets difficult, and it's a lot of questions about how to plan long term. Not to the point where you can't play this game, but just to the point where I'd say this isn't one that you're going to run into and totally get day one. You're going to need a few plays of it. So I like the game. I'm going to say the difficulty's just enough, though, that I'm going to give it a little bit on the thumbs down because you need to give the effort. It's going to require you a few games to get there. Replayability. Is the game replayable? I really enjoyed game 1. I would love to play again. But I acknowledge that getting this back to the table with my group of friends is not going to be easy. I don't think it blew us away. So therefore, I don't know if anybody's going to want to pick this before we pick other games we love or new games. So while I like the game and I see replayability, if a game group isn't ready to go pull this out immediately, none of us were talking about saying, let's get this to the table again next week or the next week after that, then I don't think that families are going to do that very often. I don't think that the short-term players are going to do it very often. I think there's a tight niche group that's going to say, let's get this back to the table. So for me, thumbs down. Keys to victory. There's so many keys to victory in this game. Are you going for your animals and trying to get your sets? Are you going for your tents and for your villages and trying to score off the board? Are you trying to build up in your temple? Are you trying to go and use cards to allow you more option for resources? There's a lot of ways to attack this game. I think there's plenty of keys to victory. Thumbs up. Is the game unique? The theme is very fun. It's funny because I wasn't sure what game we were playing when I heard it mentioned, only because the friend who owns this owns 3 different games that nobody else owns that are all winter themed. He has Frostpunk and Frosthaven as well. So it took me a second because I was like, are we playing a co-op? And then I realized, oh wait, no, we're playing the third one. I've just never gotten to the table. So I think that the theme is not unique, but it's not widely used. I don't know a lot of winter-themed games like this. And then on top of that, when it comes to the gameplay, no. The deck building and the set collection and the worker placement are not unique, but I think that the way that you place this out and how you go top to bottom with how you play your cards, how you go to your top two abilities, your third ability, your bonus ability, that was unique. I saw aspects of other games there, but I've never seen quite that setup. I felt like the deck building was very cool in how you were able to just say like, oh, on your first, you don't need a card. But when you go here, if you wanted, you can drop your entire hand on your first worker and do loads of stuff up top. Then do the actions. And then the next turn, your second and third, it's going to be very quick because you have no cards in hand. I like that. So in my opinion, I would say that this game is unique. It's unique enough to earn a thumbs up. Overall, what do I think? It's a fun game. I really enjoyed playing it. I would like to play it again. Is it one I would own? I definitely would not be upset if it was in my collection, but for the price and for the likelihood of the replayability, right now I wouldn't add it. But maybe in a year, I'm proving that it's not that bad as far as replayability, and maybe the price isn't as bad as I'm thinking. Well, we have been reviewing the game Endless Winter, and you've been speaking to the Meeple's champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.